A long time ago, before the Great Flood, the world was simple. People lived in small villages. They grew food, raised animals, and cared for their families. The rivers were full, the sky was blue, and the mountains stood tall. High above, in the heavens, angels watched over the earth. These angels were called the Watchers. Their job was to look after people, but never to change anything. They were wise and strong, created by God to keep order. For a long time, the Watchers did their duty. But then, something changed. The angels started to notice human women. They saw their beauty. They watched how they smiled, how they cared for their children, how they laughed. Feelings grew inside the Watchers, feelings they had never known before. One of the angels, named Samayaza, was their leader. He gathered the other Watchers and spoke to them. "We all see how beautiful the human women are," he said. "We want to be with them, but heaven says we cannot. What should we do?" Some angels were afraid. They knew it was wrong, but others wanted to go. Samayaza looked at them and said, "I will go to earth, but if I go alone, I will take all the punishment. If we all go together, we will share the risk." The Watchers looked at each other. Then, one by one, they agreed. They made a promise. The stars above seemed to grow dim, as if heaven itself knew something was wrong. Then, 200 angels left heaven. They fell like bright stars, down, down, down to earth. They landed on the great mountain called Hermon. The wind blew hard, and the sky was silent. The Watchers had made their choice. They could not go back. The Watchers took human women as their wives. They had children, giants called the Nephilim. These giants were tall, strong, and powerful, but they were also cruel. The Nephilim ruled over people. They took what they wanted. They ate too much food. They started fights. They hurt the people and made them afraid. The Nephilim ate more food than the land could give. At first, they took from the fields and farms. But soon, there was not enough. So, they began to take from the people. They walked into villages, grabbing baskets of bread and pots of stew. If someone tried to stop them, they crushed them with their great hands. When food ran low, their hunger grew worse. They ate animals, cows, sheep, and even horses. But it was not enough. Then, the Nephilim did something even worse. They turned against the people. They hunted them like animals. They took the weak and the helpless. Their laughter echoed through the forests as they feasted on human flesh. The people lived in fear. They hid in caves and prayed for help. But the Watchers did nothing. These were their children, and they would not stop them. The fallen angels did not just take wives. They also gave humans forbidden knowledge. Azazel, one of the greatest of the Watchers, taught men how to make weapons. "Here," he said, "take this metal, shape it with fire, turn it into swords and spears." Before this, people only hunted with stones and wooden sticks, but now they had sharp blades of iron and bronze. They made shields and armor, and soon they began to fight. Tribes went to war with each other. Brothers turned against brothers. Blood was spilled across the land. Another Watcher taught men how to read the stars. He showed them the secrets of the heavens, but not for wisdom. Instead, men used it to cast spells and seek power. Women learned how to mix potions and wear makeup to change their beauty. But it was not just for decoration. It was for control, for deception, for vanity. The world was no longer simple. It was full of war. It was full of greed. It was full of darkness. And God watched in sorrow. The earth was not as He had made it. It had become corrupt, and soon, something had to be done. The world had become dark and violent. The Nephilim ruled over the people with fear. The Watchers watched in silence, knowing they had done wrong but unable to stop what they had started. But among the people, there was one man who still walked with God. His name was Enoch. Enoch was different from others. He did not follow the ways of the fallen angels. He did not seek power, gold, or magic. He spent his time in prayer and wisdom. He taught his family to live in kindness and truth. One day, as Enoch was deep in thought, he felt something strange. The air around him changed. A bright light surrounded him, and suddenly, he was lifted up from the earth. God had called him. Enoch found himself standing in a place unlike any he had ever seen. The sky was full of light, yet no sun shone. It was peaceful, yet powerful. Before him stood mighty angels, their faces shining like fire, their robes white as snow. Then, a voice spoke. "Enoch, my servant, look upon the earth." Enoch looked down. He saw the world from above. He saw the Nephilim ruling with cruelty. He saw men fighting wars. He saw women weeping. He saw the Watchers, standing on Mount Hermon, watching what they had done. "The Watchers have broken my law," God said. "They were meant to guide, not to rule. They were meant to protect, not to destroy. They have filled the earth with sin, and their children, the Nephilim, bring only death." Enoch listened in silence. "Now, you will go and tell them my judgment," God commanded. "They will beg for mercy, but it is too late. Their fate is sealed." Enoch bowed his head. He did not argue. He knew God's justice was right. Enoch was returned to earth. He climbed up Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels stood. Their once glorious faces looked tired and full of worry. They had seen the destruction their actions had caused. When they saw Enoch, they rushed to him. "Please, speak to God for us," they begged. "We have sinned, but we do not want to be cast away forever." Their voices were full of fear. These mighty angels, once shining like the stars, were now afraid like children. Enoch looked at them and shook his head. "It is too late," he said. "God has already decided. You will never return to heaven. Your children, the Nephilim, will be destroyed. And you," he pointed at them, "will be cast into the darkness." The Watchers fell to the ground and wept, but nothing could change their fate. God had given his warning. Now, the time for judgment had come. Mighty angels were sent to bring justice. The earth trembled, the sky darkened, and the punishment began. Gabriel, one of the greatest of God's warriors, was sent to destroy the Nephilim. He did not need swords or fire. Instead, he turned them against each other. The giants, once brothers, began to fight. They roared in anger. They crushed the land beneath their feet. Their battles shook mountains and broke rivers. The people, who had once feared the Nephilim, watched as their cruel rulers destroyed one another. And soon, the Nephilim were no more. The capture of the Watchers, Michael, the chief of God's armies, went after the Watchers. He found them on Mount Hermon. "Your time is over," he said. The Watchers tried to run, but they could not escape. Michael's voice alone was like a storm, his presence like fire. He lifted his hand, and chains of light appeared. The chains wrapped around the fallen angels, binding them so they could never move again. Then, Raphael took Azazel, the one who had taught humans the worst sins. He bound him and cast him into a deep pit, a place of darkness where no light could enter. Azazel screamed, but no one heard him. One by one, the Watchers were taken and locked away, deep beneath the earth. There, they would wait, trapped until the final judgment. But even with the Nephilim gone and the Watchers imprisoned, the world was still full of sin. The people had learned too much evil. They no longer followed the ways of God. So, God decided to wash the world clean. He called upon the skies. Rain began to fall. First, small drops. Then, heavy showers. Then, great floods. The rivers rose. The oceans swallowed the land. The cities were washed away. The mountains were covered. The earth became a sea of endless water. Everything the Watchers had built was gone, but not all life was lost. One man and his family had been chosen to survive. Noah was a righteous man. He had never followed the ways of the Watchers. He had not learned their magic, nor had he worshipped their power. So, God saved him. Before the flood came, God told Noah to build a great ark, a giant boat to carry his family and the animals of the earth. Noah obeyed. He worked day and night, cutting wood, shaping the ark, following God's exact instructions. People laughed at him. They called him a fool. But Noah did not stop. When the rains began to fall, Noah and his family entered the ark. The doors were sealed, and then the waters rose. For many days, the ark floated on the endless ocean. Noah and his family could do nothing but wait. Then, one day, the rain stopped. The clouds parted, and a single ray of sunlight touched the water. The flood had ended. Noah sent out a bird. At first, it returned, finding no land. But days later, the bird came back with a small leaf in its beak. The waters were going down. The earth was coming back to life. Finally, the ark came to rest on a mountain. Noah and his family stepped out. The world was fresh and new. Noah and his children rebuilt life on earth. They farmed the land. They raised animals. They taught their children the ways of God. But they never forgot the past. They told their children the story of the Watchers, their pride, their fall, their punishment. They warned them never to follow the path of forbidden knowledge. They warned them that even the mightiest can fall, and that no one, not even angels, can escape God's justice forever.